and welcome to Citizen Extra. I am Ann Kiguta. We are taking you live across the country where news is breaking, and you can trust us to have the very latest updates on the stories that will make headlines today. We're taking you live to Eldoret, where our John Wanyama is standing by very shortly. He'll be giving us an update on the reaction of residents on the death of the so-called total man, Nicholas Biwott, who passed away yesterday. We're also going to be live in Kisumu. Laura Atieno is standing by. President Uhuru Kenyatta is expected to be campaigning in the region as well as launching some Vision 2030 projects. We'll be getting an update very shortly. And then we're taking you here in Nairobi to the Kasarani Stadium, where the IAAF Under-18 Championships will be underway today. So a lot of breaking news happening throughout the day. And in studio, I'm joined by analysts David Osiani, Joy Mudivo, and Washington Makodingo. We're talking politics very shortly, so you don't want to miss that. But first, let's start by taking you to Kisumu now, where preparations are in full gear for the arrival of President Uhuru Kenyatta, who is expected to be taking Jubilee campaigns, spearheading them in the region today. Laura, tell us more.
Yes, a very good morning to you. And here in the county of Kisumu, we anticipate a pretty packed day as the president is expected to make a tour in this county. Now, we know that his first stop will be in Ahero, where he's commissioning the construction of the Ahero-Isibania road, which is basically getting a facelift at a cost of 18 billion shillings. Now, the road is expected, of course, to be boosting the business sector, since it connects the South Sudan to Tanzania through Kenya. Of course, the president will be there to commission the construction of that road, and later on he will be coming here to the East Africa Breweries Limited, where he's also coming for the groundbreaking ceremony of this industry, which is actually cost up about 15 billion shillings, and is expected to create about 110,000 jobs, both directly and indirectly to the locals here, and of course revamp the agricultural sector, as the demand for sorghum will be going up from 20,000 tons to 40,000 tons. And of course, now, as you can see behind me, the locals are by the gate. They are hoping to be allowed to get inside and also witness the epic moment where the president will be groundbreaking the industry here. Now, what we know is that when coming, this EABL has been here for some time, but it has not been that active, and so the 15 billion that was pumped into this sector is expected, of course, to go a long way in both creating employment and revamping the agricultural sector. Now, in attendance, we expect the CS for Industrialization and Enterprise Development, Adan Mohammed, and of course, we'll be bringing you the latest from this front. Back to you, studio.
Thanks very much, Laura, for that. Let me come to my guests in studio for a little bit of commentary on that. Makodingo, let me begin with you, and good morning. We'll see the president, going through various parts of Nyanza today, launching some projects and, of course, campaigning. What do you think should be the message for the incumbent in a region that has traditionally overwhelmingly supported his opposer?
Thank you, Anne, for having me. Unlike 2013, this time Uhuru Kenyatta is the president, so he didn't campaign in Nyanza in 2013 at all. But now he's the president. He's the president of all of us. We all pay taxes, including the citizens of Kisumu and Homa Bay. So, of course, the president has a right, and in fact a responsibility, to campaign in those sides of the country. And there are quite a significant number of people. They may not be 50% plus one, but there's a significant number of people within Luo Nyanza who support the president and support his agenda. So yes, I expect that the president will be received well, the same way opposition leaders have been received elsewhere, including his home county, and that he will have an opportunity to both launch the projects that he's launching, which is really saying that, telling them about the Jubilee transformation agenda over the last 4.5 years, and the next 5 years, given that he's going to get another term in a couple of days, and hopefully look for votes and get them come August 8th.
Okay, Joy, what do you think of that? What message would resonate with the residents of this area?
Right now, I think what the president is going to encounter in Luo Nyanza today is what we saw with Honorable Raila in Central the other day. It will be total civility, because I think Kenyans have come a long way. The days of booing and jeering and disrupting are long gone. And even if people differ with you politically, like Makodingo said, there's a small pocket maybe that may support the president, but even the ones who do not support him will be polite in their engagement with the president today. That's what I expect to see, especially because now Kenyans have reached a place where they have realized these people come, they spend a day with us, and then they go. So there's no use of creating chaos that would leave them dealing with the aftermath of such an event. But even with the president going to commission projects today, you'd expect that there will come criticism from people in the area that these are being commissioned as election goodies. Whereas, in my opinion, government is just carrying on with its duties, because remember, their term does not end until the next general election actually takes place, and for the president until the next president is ready to be sworn in. So it's one of those things that is, it will be good to see how the people are able to receive the president, and what sort of, we can compare and contrast with the reception that the former Prime Minister got when he went to Kiambu last week, I think.
Right. David, let's talk a little bit about those projects. There's a Sinendet Kisumu pipeline, the Kisumu Well Jetty, alongside what we saw with the brewer, as Laura reported. What do you believe would be the impact of these different projects in the region?
Thank you, Anne. Given the impacts would be tremendous, but that's only if these will even materialize. It's the election season, so it's time for showmanship, public relations. Get out, speak what you think is nice. Go and look for your 5%, which will be a hard find there. And from the onset, I want us to remember that this is a private endeavor. This is not a government endeavor. What the government is going to do, which he will be launching, is the road from Mahero to Isebania, which has been in the offing for the last 3 years. And I guess it's again an issue of timing to come and launch it right now. The brewery is a private thing. The GAO is a private-owned company, EABL. They've just invited him as a friend, come and do this for us. I really hope that the promise that this would create, 110,000 jobs. When the team was hosted in State House by the President, what they had said is that 110,000 jobs will be created courtesy of this. However, they were quick to say thereafter that the nearest this will take off is in 2 years. So, as I said, it's for showmanship. Be that as it may, I really hope it's able to take off, because 110,000 jobs, even if it was just half, give or take, would be quite an impact to the society. All
right. Hold that thought there. Let's follow up with some news, of course, that we're waiting on. And the races have started in earnest at Kasarani, where IAAF championships are underway. I believe these are the World Junior Championships. We remember that this is a biannual event, I believe, and in the last event we saw Kenya coming in at second place. So very shortly we hope to catch up with our Benan Dong to find out you know, what's going on there, and of course the hopes of our team, the Kenyan team, knowing that they had come in second place in the last championships.
Amazing to think.
All right, we want to switch gears now and take you to Eldoret now, where John Wanyama is standing by. As we mentioned earlier, we're following up, of course, on the death of a man whose influence spans possibly across 3 administrations and was felt in every way, from politics to business. His name synonymous both with respect and a degree of mystery. Some would go as far as saying fear. Nicholas Biwott passed away yesterday. John Wanyama joins us with an update this morning. John.
Thank you very much, Anne. And here in Uasin Gishu County, the county is mourning, and the entire country is also mourning following the death of Nicholas Biwott, the powerful minister who was in Moi era. And Anne, Biwott will be remembered being a powerful man and a very loyal man to President Moi. And here in the region, most of people were shocked when it was announced that Nicholas Biwott is no more, because he was a father figure to many people, since he really valued education in this region. And many people have really gone to school and educated because of Nicholas Biwott. Nicholas Biwott also will be remembered as a man who never used one car to one destination. He could use 3-4 cars before he could reach one destination. He's that man who could not even eat in public, and he never used to interact or use mobile phone like everyone does, those rich and filthy people do. And what will be remembered of Biwott is that this man Biwott is the man that most people admire to be. But unlike this era, no one can ever try to be like Biwott the way he was in the government of Moi's time. Nicholas Biwott is the husband. He was the husband to a senatorial candidate in Uasin Gishu, Professor Kamar, and who is also in the race this year in the coming general election. And as the country still mourn the death of Nicholas Biwott, there are two similar things that are in common with Biwott and Gaiseri, is that these people are no-nonsense men, and the country has really got a big loss after these two guys decided to die just a few days ago. And the month of August is a month that most Kenyans have believed that this month most of our big names people go and die, and we are hoping that this will be the last one, and I hope Kenyan will go to prayers and intervene so that this month remain a month of peace and nothing will happen. We are just following up on this issue. We are going into his home this morning just to see what is really happening, whether burial arrangements have started, and we will come back to you once we get this information fully. Anne.
Thanks very much, Wanyama, for reporting for us there this morning. Let me talk a little bit to my panel about Biwott and his legacy. Now, Joy, let me start with you. It is true you can be rich and filthy at the same time.
I know.
But yet, notwithstanding, we're probably seeing the demise in the last few weeks, I should say, of some of the more iconic figures of Kenya's political history, and also I think of a certain type of leader. In fact, Nicholas Biwott's total man stature is very much the stature of a lot of these prominent figures, who have fallen. Their power seemed absolute in many terms, unfettered, unchecked. They also managed to amass for themselves, significant wealth and have influence beyond the administrations in which they served. Pillars, institutions, some would go as far as saying. What are your thoughts on the demise of Biwott and also the falling of such key figures?
Nicholas Biwott was one of those gentlemen who was loved and loathed in equal measure. Those who knew him as we've heard from a reporter, as a father figure, now is when we're learning that he paid school fees for very many people. He was a very philanthropic and father figure to quite a number of people in his locality. But for us in the public, in the rest of the public, what we remember Biwott for example, is his alleged involvement in the Ouko murder. And I think I saw one of the headlines today saying that the gentleman has gone to the grave with his secrets. Of course, he's well known for being linked to major scandals in Kenya, and in equal measure for suing the newspapers and the book outlets that purported to carry material or stories linking him to some of these, because he was very paranoid about maintaining a clean name and a clean feature. Then also his peculiar habits of suspicion of never using the same vehicle, of using beat down taxis, of getting in through one door and getting out the other and jumping to the car next to it. He had peculiar habits that showed he had some paranoia, some fear of some sort, that caused him to believe that his life was always in danger from some sources. So he's one of those figures where he was an enigma, and I wouldn't go as far as saying he'll be sorely missed, because he has been absent from the public sphere for a while, but he's one of those figures in Kenyan history who I do not think we fully understand the man, and I'm hoping some of his family will one day write a biography about him and just tell us a little bit more about the man we did not know. But the one we knew was he was a contrast. He was a Rubik cube.
Right. Makotingo.
It's generally very un-African to talk bad of the dead. You really an African.
but having said that, go on.
Having said that, I think the Biwott that is in the public domain was a man, the kind of man who in his day you could not mention his name in public. I think at that point there was President Moi, there was James Kanyotu, there was Nicholas Biwott, people whose names you could not mention in public. And
that's true, you couldn't even say total man. Right?
Yeah, you couldn't even say those things. So I mean, right. that is the man that the public, the public knows. But there was also the man that was extremely paranoid, like Joy says. The man who never had a mobile phone. He kept a small black book where he had contact. He would stop at a petrol station and ask for a phone from an attendant to make a phone call. I don't think that is the way to live life. Yeah, for a man who had so much wealth, who had immense wealth and immense holdings in companies, you really do not want to live your life in a life of paranoia that from Yaya to town you have exchanged 3-4 vehicles, you do not eat in public, you cannot eat anywhere, you cannot eat it at home. It's not worth it. I think what Biwott's life has demonstrated to us is that no matter how much you accumulate, no matter how much power you have, ultimately it's all vanity.
Wow. David, I think for a lot of our audience who are younger, you know, those who are expecting to vote for, you know, the first time in this election, there may be a bit of a disconnect between the Kenya that the Biwotts and the Kanyotu served in and the Kenya that we live in now. Paint the contrast.
No, I think the total man was total in brute and total in bright. He was ruthless. Those who know him in that regard know him as such. But he was, in my opinion, what you see in the movie The Godfather. The lead character is Don Corleone. Don is so brutal. He does things at the drop of a hat, yet so tender when it comes to his family and his friends. And I bet maybe that's what Biwott was. He had these two worlds. Those who knew him on both sides. If you asked those who underwent the incarceration in Nyayo times, like the ex-Prime Minister Raila Odinga, they would just say, rest in peace. But again, you will ask those who knew him for who he was, you know, good friends and family. And our young people may not entirely understand who Biwott was. Biwott made all Kenyans believe that he was inside their houses at each and every given time. And I bet it takes a lot of intelligence, a great IQ, to amass the amount of power and wield the amount of power that Nicholas Biwott wielded. And so, you know, the sages say that death unites. My friend Silas Yanchwani wrote on his Facebook account, Biwott is dead. The lesser said about this, the better. I wish the family, you know, I want to pass my condolences, and I wish and hope and pray that they go through this mourning phase, you know, with God's blessings and care.
Wow. All right, let's switch gears now, and I wonder if we can take you to Tanzania, Dar es Salaam very shortly. All right, we'll be able to do that very shortly, where Michael King is standing by. Gor Mahia playing Everton in Dar today. We'll be getting an update on that from the sports desk very shortly. All right, I believe he's on. We can go now to Dar es Salaam. Michael Kinyi joining us now. Good morning, Mike. Tell us about this match that is to be played and who's starting for Kenya's side.
Very good morning to you, Al Kiguta, in studio back in Nairobi. We're coming to you live from Dar es Salaam. We are at the Stickley Hotel, where we are waiting for the Everton team. The English Premier League side, Everton, are about to arrive just now, and they're going to play Gor Mahia tomorrow at the national team. What is happening right now is that in charge of welcoming party that is here. There is a lot of attention being given to the Everton team. This is the media that is here with us.
With that feed from Mike, we're going to try and catch up with him again in Dar es Salaam, but we thank him for that correction. They're playing tomorrow. The Kenya side is playing Everton tomorrow. So we'll catch up with him very shortly. Let's return to other news that are making headlines, and we are staying with the judiciary row, which continues. You're of course aware that the president and the deputy president have launched a scathing attack at the judiciary, questioning the independence of some judges who've been sitting on key cases that will determine the way in which the election is run, and what IEBC will or will not be able to do in the run-up to that election. We've heard from the opposition, at least in the last 24 hours, accusing the presidency of setting the grounds to reject the result of the August election, and the Kenya Magistrates and Judges Association has also come out to defend its independence and to ask politicians to steer off their debate. Let me start with you, Makodingo. Is the credibility of the judiciary in doubt at all?
That's a difficult question, but I think there are legitimate concerns on the way NASA and the ODM candidate is dealing with the preparations for the elections, especially the latest case. I think the latest case to be determined, and the new one that has just been filed. The truth is, this is purely an administrative issue. When NASA went to court, when ODM and his team went to court, Raila went to court with newspaper cuttings. I mean, any ordinary citizen, you as an ordinary citizen out there, if you went to the High Court today with an affidavit and newspaper cuttings as supporting evidence, it will be thrown out. Yeah, nobody will listen to you. In fact, your lawyer will think you're mad. And yet, the NASA team went to the High Court before Justice Odunga with newspaper cuttings. The good judge saw it fit to declare that case of immense constitutional nature, so that it warranted the constitution of a three-judge bench. Those three judges, and in their wisdom, determined that in fact NASA had no case, that they were relying on rumors and innuendo, and then went ahead to stop the tender on some flimsy grounds about public participation in a matter that the public would have no capacity to participate in to begin with. So, if you bring out the issue that Odunga is related to NASA's lead counsel, then it begins to make sense why NASA will run to court with a case that has zero merit and actually expect to be heard. And it is not unimaginable that there could have been a family meeting over family dinner. The two would have sat down and discussed the merits of the case. So there was no merit in it, but went ahead to determine it, to give it urgency anyway, and then allowed other interested parties upon whose arguments the judgment was actually determined. So whoever is saying that there could be bias has a legitimate case.
Joy, you're a lawyer?
Yes, I am.
How do you view the courts and their credibility?
You know that the credibility of the courts in most instances starts with perception. And if the perception is one that punctures what would be the crucible of credibility, then the credibility runs out. Not because there's actual impropriety, but because there is seeming impropriety. Now, in this particular instance, the references to the relationship between lead counsel and Judge Odunga, in my opinion, is speculation at best. Just the way the case that was brought was based on speculation. And I wish our politicians would stop with the pie in the sky and just come back to the issues on the ground. Now, the judges said that the process needed public participation. We saw the IEBC giving presidential candidates an opportunity to participate. In my opinion, it added absolutely no value to the question on the table. So I do not understand what the sort of ruling that came out with. In my opinion, what the courts ought to have done, even in passing such a judgment, and you say this public participation was missing, what they declined to do, in my opinion, is where the mischief lay. Because given the time crunch, given the sensitivity, the courts ought to have said, and given the scenarios, we would anticipate that this public participation would look like 1, 2, 3, 4, so that we all know in which direction we're headed. But they said there's no public participation, but we won't tell you what it looks like. You go ahead and make the rules. There's no parliament to pass any regulations now. So that is the place I got the ruling, and I wondered, now then why did they decide to stop such an important process and not give us the way forward? Because 3 judges considered this position. However, on the accusations that are being leveled by the president, I would look at them in the same light as the accusations that were leveled by NASA a few weeks ago when they're talking about the constitutional tallying row. it's one of those things that you do nuanced to the crowd that is in front of you. Because it would be a very foolhardy judge who would be quaking in his boots because the president spoke in a public rally of, oh, we are watching you. I mean, unless you're standing
an entire association has issued a statement.
No, but it's because that's what people do these days. Even the Chief Justice responded, and I wondered, why did he bother? Because if you're really giving your fidelity to the law, then what you should be looking for is what are the facts before you. We need to come to a place where we don't have so many sensitivities. Everybody has got such a fragile, demeanor that things that we ought to brush off, we are giving weight. I've seen the Africa Bar Association weigh in on this, the LSK weigh in on this, the churches want to weigh in on this. I mean, it's ridiculous. Let's just get on with it. But be that as it may, the number of cases that the IEBC is handling right now, in my opinion, the IEBC is under attack. It's not the judiciary, it's the IEBC that is besieged. Because Makonego has referred to the new case that has been filed. This morning on the news I had there's a court case that has been filed in the High Court in Kisumu about the declaration should be done within 7 hours. I'm like, the IEBC is spending time fighting all these fires and we still expect a credible election from them in 26 days. We should stop the sideshows and let the IEBC just get on with their job.
David, whereas some will argue that, of course, it is the right of every Kenyan to go to court on a legitimate matter, is it getting to the point where IEBC just kind of needs to hunker down, keep its eye on the ball, leave the politicking to those who will politic and to its lawyers, and really just focus on running an election in the next 20-something days?
I am persuaded that the IEBC has a legal department. And I am quite sure that for them to have put together this department, it has very capable people who are able to deal with the legal battles and take the pressure. And I don't want us to even cast aspersions on their ability. And also, I want to encourage as many Kenyans as can that at any given point, I know some of them are driven by what you'd call ill motive or political whatever, go to the court and get clarity. It is testing our judiciary's ability to dispense with cases in record time, however good or bad. Some of this will continue way into the elections. If that be the case, so be it. What's happening is our judiciary, as envisaged in the Constitution, should be an independent body. At no time should neither the executive nor even the legislature lord itself over the judiciary. And so the president was out of order to make such demands, or anyone else who makes demands on the judiciary. But I also bet that the Chief Justice may have been gotten out of context. Be that as it may, I just want to hope and pray that our judiciary remains independent. My brother Marco Dingo says that the announcer, for example, went to court on the basis of paper cuttings. He speaks from both sides of the cheek, because then he says other members went there, were enjoined in the case, and therefore there was basis for making that ruling. Remember, any judge who sits to make judgment on such a sensitive matter as the election must put into consideration the fact that this is about 45 million people, 19 million adults willing to vote. In law, and Joy will tell us this, I'll graduate from law school in the next 4 or 5 years. In law, it is one thing to give justice, to do justice, to make a ruling that is just. But the appearance of that ruling is in tandem, must be in tandem with the ruling. So whereas justice will have been given, it makes for nothing if it is not seen as being just. And I bet that's what the judges said. They said, okay, look here, if this is the case and we have the country teetering on the edge of a catastrophe and we don't want to be part of it, we want to try and redeem and remedy our nation, then what we're going to do is to ask that the printing continues for the other levels, but for the presidential vote, let's give another company, find a model of finding out which company to do